OpenInsight Forms are application components that provide the user with an intuitive interface through which they can interact with the database. OpenInsight Forms follow industry standards to maximize the user productivity and usability. For instance, the file menu is usually always first on the menu bar and usually includes such items as new, open, close, etc. Experienced Windows users will expect to see these controls in the same place in your application as they are in other Windows applications, so really you should make sure that you follow those standards. Dialog boxes and message windows are application entities that have no database association. They are typically used to enhance the usability of the application through providing the users with lookup tables, dialog boxes, information and warnings. Dialog boxes and message windows can also be used to collect data to pass to another process or function. For instance, you might provide a lookup that consists of part numbers and descriptions. This would enable the user to quickly identify a part number from a description, click to select the item, and then by clicking OK, the system will pass that information back to the window and automatically insert the selection and retrieve the full file. Message boxes or warning boxes can be used to stop the user until they have acknowledged the message before moving on. The Forms Designer in OpenInsight also includes some special tools for application development. The first is the menu builder. This is a simple tool that enables the developer to quickly build menus for the application windows. The menu builder shows a tree of the menu structure and enables the developer to define the commands associated with each menu option. This tool also provides the ability to create accelerator keys to menu commands. This is all achieved without the developer needing to write code. The event editor provides an area where the application developer can create programs, event handlers, using Basic Plus code. These events are usually tied to a specific form or control and are therefore accessible from the properties sheet associated with the entity. The Quick Event Builder enables the developer to attach predefined event handlers to the entity. OpenInsight contains many of the most commonly used event handlers, saving you hours of programming and debugging. The Quick Event Builder can be accessed from the entity's properties page where applicable. Let's go on and start to build our forms. So the first thing we need to do is to run our clinic application and minimize the system monitor. Running the Forms Designer is easy. You can either do it from the Tools menu, or you can navigate to it in the repository, or simply click the Form Designer, which is the option I'm going to choose now. Now I'm going to open up a window that I've run previously. OpenInsight lists a few of the most previous windows here, and the reason why I'm doing that is I just want to bring in some additional information here in the control toolbar. Now we've got a standard menu up here. We're going to be going into most of these components over the next few lessons, so I'm not going to go through those now. In the ribbon bar we've got a control name, which is the name of the control that we're working on. So at the moment we're working on this window, which is called Test Edit Table D&D. If I was to click onto this edit table, it's T1, this one is T2. Now every control has to have a unique identifier. However, these control names aren't great. This is a test window, so it doesn't matter. Normally you would have a more descriptive control name in there so that you can readily identify your controls on the screen. Text is simply the text that is going to display on the control. So for a window we do have a name of the window, which is Test Edit Table Drag and Drop. And we also have a Test Run button. And the Test Run button is really useful because I can click on this and run that window and have a look and see how my changes have affected the window, what the look and feel is like, how the tab through the window, etc. You don't have to compile it and go out to another tool to look at it. You can do all of that from within the Forms Designer itself. Now with regards to the controls, in here you'll notice that I've only got the blue controls, not the blue and green. So if I go into View Full Toolbar, then I get the green controls that I mentioned earlier on. But let's just go through these one at a time very quickly. The selection tool is used to select, move, resize and access properties. We have the ability to add static text for labels or other standard text on the form. There is a push button which is used to initiate a process or an action. We can add an overlay control to our form, and we can group controls using the group box. We can add images to our form using the bitmap control, and we also have the ability to add vertical and horizontal splitter bars. The tab control is a nice way of grouping different bits of information on different tabs, and we will be looking at that in probably the next lesson. We have a checkbox control, which creates a checkbox on the form, usually for true and false information. The edit table is a very powerful control, and it's used to display data in a tabular format similar to a spreadsheet. We have an edit line control, which is used to enable a single line of data to be entered. And the edit box is then used to enter more lines of data, so a fair amount of data. And you have the ability to use plain text and rich text in that particular control. The combo box consists of an edit box and a list box combined into one control, and it's used to allow users to either enter data or select data from a drop-down list of predefined values. The list box creates a list box or hierarchical list box control, which can display variable or fixed length fields. We have the ability to add a vertical scroll bar and a horizontal scroll bar to our window. And the radio button is used to represent mutually exclusive choices. Now the blue buttons don't have to be data aware. The green buttons down here, there's 9 of them. They're the same as the buttons above, but if you drop one of those onto your form, then OpenInsight is immediately going to prompt you for the database that you want to link to, or the database association. Now before we go in and create a new form, I want to go into the Tools menu and look at the preferences. Now there are a number of preferences in here. We have got the grid options, snap to grid, which assists placing controls by snapping them into place on a predefined grid, and then obviously we can show that grid or hide it if we want to. Spacing specifies the horizontal and vertical dimensions of the grid that we're going to be displaying. The test run options enables us to test run with actual data tables or temporary data tables. I usually work with actual data tables because I'm not working with a real live database. If you are developing a live database or you've got a local copy of the live data, then you might want to use temporary data tables so you don't actually modify your actual data itself. You have the ability to always save before you run the test run button, or prompt for a save. And I've got the defaults on this particular screen here. Database controls, we can create our text label automatically, or you can add it yourself later. We can add a default background color to our window, and also we have the default font. Now here's a word of warning. If you're running on Vista or Windows 7, OpenInsight is going to default to your system font. Now in my instance this is the Segoy UI font. That's fine until I want to come and deploy onto an older machine like an NT machine or a Windows XP machine that hasn't been fully patched and doesn't have that particular font. So my recommendation is to change to Arial, Tahoma or Verdana, because those fonts tend to be on all of those machines. And the reason I'm saying this is the font sizes are different. So what looks good on your machine could look terrible on somebody else's, and where you've sized, let's say, a label control to suit the font that you're working in, when it renders in a larger font, you may well find that that label is truncated. So I'm actually going to go ahead and change some of these settings now, and if I can find it, I'm going to set this to Verdana. That one there, and I'm just going to take it down to size 8 because that looks a little bit nicer, and I'm happy with the rest of the prompts here, so we'll OK that. Now also I want to snap my controls to grid and I want to show the grid, but I'm going to change this to 4 pixels, which is what most people use. I'm happy with actual data tables and I'll just let the system prompt me for a save. The other thing I do want to do though is to create my text labels automatically to the left, and I'm not going to bother to append a colon. That basically puts a colon at the end of the label and then you've got your data entry control next to it. It's really user preference whether you have that on or not, but I think these days most people are opting not to, so I'll do that now. Once we're done, we simply click OK.